All right, I am Alicia Rinaldi, and this morning we're sitting down with Dr. Katie McBrine and Dr. McBrine. We look forward to hearing a little bit about you, and so we're wondering if you'd be able to tell our members and our viewers a little bit about yourself.
Sure. So my name is Katie McBrine, and I'm running for State Senate in Plymouth and Norfolk, which is an 8-town district on the South Shore, and includes Weymouth, Hingham, Hull, Cohasset, Scituate, Marshfield, Duxbury, and Norwell. Did I do all that? I think so. And I am a pediatrician. I'm a mom of 2 kids. I have lived in Hingham for a little over 7 years. We moved to Boston about 10 years ago. I'm originally from the south side of Chicago, south side, and really Chicago, right next to the White Sox stadium, so I switched White Sox to Red Sox, and I've been a pediatrician for over a decade now. Really enjoy it, love my families. But I am just tired of what's going on in the state of our state and the state of our world.
Great. So can you clarify the seat that you're running for and let us know why you're running for that seat?
So I'm running for state senate, and I'm running as the Democrat. I don't have a primary opponent, but I do have the Republican incumbent that I'm going up against. Sorry, what was the other part of the question?
And why are you
Why am I running? So I am running for multiple reasons. You know, the 2016 election happened, and I think that, and I know that motivated a lot of people, and it motivated me to become more politically active. As a pediatrician, I've, been doing medicine for a long time, and I voted, but I haven't really, and donated money occasionally, but didn't really get involved. And so after that election happened, I started looking around to get involved, and I joined our Democratic Town Committee, and I started writing postcards, and I started going to events, and I lobbied. I went to a sexual health lobbying day, which was really great, and I had never lobbied before, so I was a little nervous about doing that because I didn't really know what I was supposed to be doing, but it was great because it was done by Planned Parenthood and stuff about 3 bills, but one that I distinctly remember was a bill making health information for our students medically accurate, which is weird because in Massachusetts we don't have that as a law, so they can teach our students anything they want in a health class. It doesn't have to be medically accurate. So I thought, oh, this is a pretty easy law. Let's right in my wheelhouse. I love education. I love medically accurate education. So I actually went up to my now opponent and lobbied him, and he seemed on board with it, and I left feeling pretty good about it, and then found out later when I looked into it that he voted against it along party lines, and that got me really upset. And I thought, even here in Massachusetts, where we're supposed to be, so progressive, we can't even get this law passed, and it didn't pass this year, by the way. So I have my campaign manager, who's my friend, and we decided that I'm going to run. We're going to run because we need different voices, better voices, and we need people to actually be progressive and push forward.
Yeah, wonderful. I was at the same lobby day. It was a great event. So those are lobby days.
So go lobby.
Yeah, these are great events to go meet your legislators. So in what ways would you say that you are qualified for this position?
Yeah, so actually, originally when you think about it, there hasn't been that many physicians who usually run for office. So it didn't strike me as something that we would necessarily be good at. But the more that I thought about it, the more that we have skill sets that is actually really good for being in office. First and foremost, we care. We care about people. We care about families. We care about you. And that's what we went into medicine for. Right? Because we want to help and to heal people, and that's the oath that I took. But we also use science and evidence-based medicine and studies to listen to you. So first we listen, then we take what you're saying and we incorporate it with all the scientific knowledge that we have, and then we solve problems and we come up with how we can help you. And I think that kind of thought process is really helpful in coming up with laws that will affect everybody. So it's this combination of brain and heart that I think is really necessary in our legislature. And that's what I want to bring. And that's what I think physicians can bring. I think that's what people in healthcare can bring. And honestly, I think there needs to be more of us because that's a really good combination to be able to come up and take all this information, listen to people, care about people, and then come up with a policy that helps people.
Great. So what is special about your district?
Well, lots of things. It's a great district. Special, it's on the South Shore. We get, bashed by a lot of weather. We have lots of climate change issues going on around here, and we get flooded and we lose a lot of power. We have groundwater in Scituate that is a really big thing. We have a compressor station trying to go up in Weymouth, which is a really big thing and a bad thing. So we have a lot of environmental stuff going on. We have transportation issues. We do have a train that runs down here, but it runs intermittently down here, which is a real big problem for workers trying to get to work and students trying to get to school. It just broke down yesterday. My husband was on the train. He was supposed to come home because I had to go to a postcarding event, and the kids ended up having to go to the postcarding event because my husband was stuck on the train that broke down. So it's a problem. That's a really big issue. Education, we have a lot of towns in this district, some of which are more affluent and have more resources right next to towns that aren't. And so there's a lot of inequality in our education, and we need to work on fixing that, especially in this district. And then, it's not necessarily for the district, but healthcare. The healthcare just affects everybody. But a big issue around here is opioid addiction. We have, it affects every town, and we have a few towns in my district that have been really hit hard by it. And we're just not doing enough for it. I think it would be really helpful to have a physician in our state house to work on the addiction problem. And not just for opioids, but addiction in general, because it's a really hard problem to solve. And you need to bring in specialists on it. You need to attack it in many ways. And so that affects our district pretty hard. So I think that those are kind of the things in our district that I would be working on when I care about, and that kind of makes my district a little unique from what I'm running up against campaign standpoint. Is it's been a Republican held district for 20 plus years, maybe even 30 years. It's been Republican held very long. So there wasn't that much optimism that a Democrat could win this race when I first started, but our race is going strong, and I really think we can win it in here. This year is going to be our year, and we're going to do it.
Excellent. So, were you to be elected, what would your priorities be?
Yeah, first and foremost, it's going to be healthcare. Health permeates everything, and it's what I'm seeing on a daily basis with my families, and it's another reason that I got motivated to do this, is the struggle that I see with my families. The struggle each year that the copays keep going up and the deductibles keep going up. That when you have a $7,000 deductible, who has that kind of money just sitting there to get to before the insurance companies even start paying things? So while we do have a really great amount of people who are insured, they're really underinsured. They're paying a lot of money for not great insurance. And so we need to solve this problem. These businesses are struggling. I'm a partner in my practice, and I watch every year, this is things that we argue, is the amount that a business has to pay for healthcare for its employees just keeps skyrocketing at a rate that's really hard. So businesses, families, everybody's struggling with healthcare. So we need to make a more universal system. And there are ways to do it. People have been studying this for years. This is not like I just came up with this idea, right? Like, people have been looking at it, and there are ways that we can go about in doing it. And it's a big problem, and it's going to take a while to get it fixed, but we have to start, and we have to start now, because if we don't, this is just going to get to epically crisis levels, and then we're going to be really in trouble. We kind of see the same thing with the environment, right? As scientists have been shouting for years that this is a problem, and now we're seeing it in wildfires and floods and all of this stuff. And and we're just not moving fast enough on it.
Yeah.
So healthcare is a big priority. Environment is a huge priority for me. I think it would be helpful to have physicians being able to argue, because we look at those scientific studies. I look at scientific studies all the time and try to take that data and apply it to things. So I think that would be really helpful. And education is a big priority for me. As a pediatrician, I kind of see it on both ends of the spectrum. I see my little ones that aren't getting the help that they need. They're like sponges when they're real little, and we're missing out on a prime developmental opportunity. And some kids get that, and some kids don't get that. And we need to be looking at not just universal pre-K, because we do, and that's great. Let's get it all, universal pre-K. But we also need to look at daycare and providing more affordable daycare options for families, because it helps working people, but it also helps the kids at a prime developmental age to be able to be around other kids and socializing. Then I see it with my college students. I see them at the end before I kind of have to kick them out of my practice. But they are struggling with debt, just huge amounts of debt. And I've had too many of them tell me that they have to switch majors because what they love, they're not going to make any money in. And they're already so much in debt that to start their life, thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars in debt just is too overwhelming for them. Right. And we have to somehow fix that system so that it helps and it works for everybody. So, all of those, plus transportation. I think I mentioned that.
Excellent. So, what would you do to keep not only your district, but Massachusetts strong and successful with so much turmoil at the national level?
I think if we focus on our progressive ideas, that's going to make Massachusetts really successful. And all the other states are going to look at it. We used to push. We used to be the state that came up with all these innovative stuff. We haven't done that in years. And, we have trouble passing so many things that should be easily passed. And so it's not just my race, but it's every race. And we need to flip people out who've been there for too long and are not making the changes that we need to make. And so if Massachusetts focuses on all of these things that I mentioned, it will be great. It can buffer us. We have to support Maura Healey, who's doing an amazing job against the chaos that's happening on a national level. And the states have a lot of power, right? And we should use our power to protect at least our people in our state the way that we can. We can fix the national level, but that's going to take a while. And what we should start on is our state.
Excellent. So, what recent political achievement within Massachusetts would you say you're most excited about?
Well, I'm really glad they removed archaic laws that prevented abortion in our state, because on the national level, that's really scary of what potentially could happen. So that makes me excited that, again, at least in our state, we provided those protections to women, because we need to, because it's their right, because women have a right to make choices about their body.
And so what do you think have been some missed opportunities within the past legislative session or otherwise here in Massachusetts?
We didn't go far enough in our environmental bill. We did some things on it that were decent, but that bill originally, when it came out, was amazing. When it was presented by Senator Pacheco, it included so many things that would have made us a leader. And then it just got stripped down. We need to pass safe communities. We need to provide basic protections for our immigrants. People like to conveniently forget historical things, but there are a lot of immigrants in this country, and we should be proud of the immigrants in our country. I'm very proud to talk about my family who came over here as immigrants, and we need to provide protections for them. They work hard, they provide a lot to our state and our country, and so that needs to pass. We need to pass medically accurate health information for our students, because that's just basic. what other things do we need to pass? And I'm thinking about, we need to revise the education equation. They had it on there to revise it, and then we haven't done anything about it. This hasn't been revised in 25 years, and it's not working. So why do we keep having something that's not working?
Excellent. So as your district includes coastal communities that have been hit hard in recent years by extreme weather, how would you work towards ensuring that the communities you represent, hopefully in the future, would be better prepared for such events?
I think there's a lot of scientific data that we can look at, and there's a lot of people studying what would be the best way to deal with erosion and climate change problems. And so I think we need to be looking at what people are saying and to try some things. We do have seawalls, and we put those up, but those are honestly very expensive and temporary. Do we need them temporarily? Yes, until we figure out better things, but I think we need to figure out better ways to combat this problem in a more long-term solution, right? And a lot of those things take more time and they're slower and it's frustrating, and I get it, but we have to be moving towards more renewable resources. We have to stop attacking our environment so that it can heal. We need to then also be looking at ways that we can protect the people that are already there, but again, in more long-term solutions rather than just slapping up a wall, which again, we need temporarily, but we need to come up with better solutions for that.
Sounds good. And how will you protect and defend the most vulnerable in our communities? I'm talking about immigrants, non-white communities, disabled persons, LGBTQ+, those living in poverty.
I think always speaking out against hate is what we need to do. I think everybody who has any sort of voice should always use that voice to tell the intolerant it's not allowed. And so being a leader in that, I think would be helpful. I think coming up with laws to help protect those communities is always a step that we need to make. I think trying to make environments more diverse, putting people around other people so that we get and put everyone who knows each other and is like each other gets together. But diversity is a wonderful thing. Diversity breeds understanding of other people, and diversity breeds empathy, and that's what we need to have. So we need to work on mixing up our communities and increasing diversity, because that's going to help solve some of that.
Great. So what do you think Massachusetts could do to assist people with disabilities and families and caregivers of persons with disabilities?
Yeah, first we need to fix our health care because that is a mess, and that affects a lot of people with disabilities because they can't get care. We also need to enforce the laws that we have about accessibility. We have a lot of accessibility issues, especially when it comes with transportation and housing. And there are laws in place that make what you have to do with ramps, but then we don't enforce them. And so then there aren't ramps in places that needs to happen. The bathrooms aren't made to accommodate people the way that they're supposed to be. And then there's no repercussions to it. The disability community has to then get lawyers and fight on laws that are already there. So I think we need to enforce the ones that are already there and make sure that when things get built and when we do things that they're following the letter of the law to make things accessible. And we need to fix the problems that we let happen in the first place.
Excellent. So what do you plan to do to expand access to affordable and accessible transportation?
We need to increase funding for it. That's what it all comes down to, is we need to invest in our transportation system. And we haven't for many years. I think we need to revisit. There was, supposedly a ballot question that is not a ballot question anymore, that got affectionately called the millionaire's tax. And I think it would have been great, and I would have voted yes for it. It wouldn't have solved all the money problems, but it would have gotten us a few $1 billion to start this, solving that problem. So I think we need to revisit that. I think we need to look at taxing people who have more money, because they owe the states that, they owe the people that. We've forgotten what taxes are. Taxes are an investment in our future. Taxes are an investment in our people. Taxes are our investment in each other. And the government is supposed to be how we help each other. And so we need to invest in that, and we should invest in that. And it's not it shouldn't be a scary thing. I'm proud to pay taxes. I'm proud to pay taxes to help people. But I do understand the frustration with paying taxes when you don't feel like your money is going to things that are helping you and things are breaking down. So we need to be taking that money and spending it wisely to help people. And then I don't think people will have a problem with paying taxes.
Excellent point. So I have a couple of more questions. So you mentioned this briefly before, but the opioid crisis is obviously very much an issue for a lot of people in your district. How do you think we could better serve the people impacted by the opioid crisis and the families?
So we've started working on it. We've started with, frankly, I think some of the easier stuff. So when you talk about addiction and the opioid crisis, there is a problem with prescribing and having more opioids come into the system. And so we have enacted some laws that now we communicate better with where prescriptions go, and we have a more centralized location of how people are picking up controlled substances. So that's really good. It does make it slightly harder, though, for people who do actually need these medications for cancer or chronic pain to get it. So that's something we have to look at and fix. But that's just one part of it. That just decreases the amount into the system, but it doesn't help the people who are already addicted. And I think that's the big part in which we're missing. And we have so many that are struggling with this problem. We need to increase people who can help, right? So there needs to be more education, and we need to incentivize more physicians, nurse practitioners, PAs to go into and to learn about the medical management of opioid addiction, so that we can have an increased amount of people who help. I do think having a more universal system or single payer system would help with this situation, because we have compartmentalized everything, right? So now you have physical health being paid for and mental health being paid for and eye being paid for and dental being paid for, but it's the whole body. The whole body should be paid for, right? And so if we reincorporate all those things, then I think we can help also decrease some of the stigma that's attached to mental illness and to addiction, because everything affects everything in the body. And so we can help with some of that. I think we need to treat people, besides just decreasing stigma, with more empathy. Addiction is a disease, and in diseases, you can treat people and completely cure the disease. Some people you're going to treat and they won't have a problem again. Some people you're going to treat for addiction and they're going to relapse, and you have to support them as they go through this process again and again and again, because that's what happens with illness, is sometimes you get sick again. And then there are some people, no matter what you do, you can't necessarily cure them, but you can make their quality of life better and their life healthier. So we need to look at needle exchange programs, and we need to look at them having safe environments in order to inject. And we need to treat this as the illness that it is, and treat them with empathy.
Excellent. Thank you for that. That was a very thorough answer to the question about opioid, and I think that was spoken about in a way that a lot of other people don't talk about, the different types of issues you could have, long-term and short-term. So excellent, thank you. So with respect to your district, it's fairly diverse in terms of development and land use. What kinds of principles do you embrace with respect to planning and development?
I think we need more affordable housing, right? That seems to be an issue kind of everywhere, and especially an issue in my district. And there's a law in place that says 10% of it has to be affordable housing, and a lot of communities don't quite meet that, or they push back, or they find ways around it. But we need to make sure that everybody is meeting that threshold at least, and maybe even more. People need places to live, and we have to figure out ways to encourage that. I would also like to encourage diversity, especially with our housing, because I think too many places are getting too segregated. And again, diversity is a good thing. Having different people around you makes the world a better place. Excellent.
So, in closing, I'd love for you to be able to tell everyone what your website is.
Yeah. So I can be found at Vote, V-O-T-E, McBrine, MCBRINE.com. I can be found on Facebook at Vote McBrine. I can be found on Twitter at Katie McBrine, K-A-T-I-E, M-C-B-R-I-N-E. And then I'm also on Instagram at Vote McBrine. I think that's all the social media stuff. So get on any of those. We do a lot of fun things. We have a great social media team. And all the information's on there. I believe in transparency of government. I think there isn't enough of that. So my website has all my viewpoints. You may not agree with them, but they're all out there. So read them. I answer my concerns about the ballot questions. I still keep on the ones that were supposed to be ballot questions, just so you could still know. If there's any questions or concerns that you guys have, there's an email address on there. You can email my campaign manager. Her information's on there. It'll get to me. I got a volunteer site on there. I also really encourage students. I love students. You're my peeps. Come on. So I have a student volunteer program, and we have a bunch of students on my team, and they're wonderful. I also need lawn signs. I need lawns. You got lawns? I got signs for you. So that's going out right now, too. So sign up on there. And then money. I wanted to get money out of politics, guys, but until I get into politics, I can't get money out of politics. So I need some money because printing at union printers is very expensive, but I believe in printing at union printers. And because I believe in the environment, my signs are recycled. So there you go. So let's get some recycled union printed lawn signs.
Excellent. Well, Dr. McBrine, thank you so much. I'm Alicia Rinaldi, and thank you for watching, everyone.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah.